Recording has started.
We haven't been there for.
Today is August the 12th, 2021. The time is 10:30 a.m. The meeting of the Furnace and Construction Board for the City of Kansas City, Missouri will come to order. If everyone will identify the organization that they're representing as the roll is called. Other than that, I'm going to ask the rest of you if you would mute your mics, please. Thank you.
Ed DeSornier. Don Greenwell.
Present.
Robert Lohman. Joseph Maben. Kara McCreevy.
Present.
Gabe Perez.
Present.
It looks like I only have 3 board members, so we need 1 more for a quorum.
Bob Lohman, are you with
Mr.
us?
Lohman.
Did you call for Bob Lohman?
Yes, he just joined, it looks like.
Okay, so we do have a quorum. All right, thank you, Bob. So we have a quorum.
Yes.
Did you register a quorum?
Yes.
Okay, with that in mind, once again, welcome everyone to the Furnace and Construction Board meeting. We've got a long ways to go, so we're going to move right along. I'm going to ask the board if they will read the July minutes and look at them for corrections, or if there are no corrections, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mr.
This
Chair,
is Don Greenwell. Motion to approve.
Bob Lohman, second.
It's been moved and second to accept the minutes as written. All in favor by roll.
Greenwell.
Aye.
Lohman.
Aye.
McCreevy.
Aye.
Perez.
Aye.
I have 4 ayes and 0 nays.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move right straight on into the projects for today. We have one holdover project from last month. That's project number 1, HRT. You'll take the helm from here. Who's representing for the 27th Street Townhome Phase 2 from the city?
This is Mike Coddington with Housing and Development with the city.
Okay.
Maria is giving an update on this. I don't see her on, so maybe I can get her on real quick.
Okay, while we're waiting on that, this project came before the Furnace Board on last month, and we were looking for the cup that had not been turned in or had been turned in or not, and we were looking for the contractors that were in phase number 1 and where they were at. That would help us to set our goals on phase number 2. The contractor himself had put in a goal on this particular phase. I believe it was 36 and 17. HRD came back with a goal of 15 and 12. I think we were interested to see what did the contractor do on phase 1. That was one of the issues, the reason this project was held over. Can someone help me or help the board with this project, please? Is there anyone from HRD representing
Hello,
this
this
project?
is Rio. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, sorry, I was having issues getting in, but I'm here now. So just to catch up, we're talking about 27th Street Townhomes.
Yes, we are.
Okay. I do want to let you know on phase one, I want to get you caught up. I do apologize for last month. My ignorance led me to guess, and I should not have guessed. So I do have the information for the docket memo here in front of me for 27th Street Townhomes Phase 1. And the MBE WBE goals were set at 15 and 13 for a $1.3 million contract. I believe that's come down a little to 1.2. The CUP that was submitted by Missouri Housing Partners there was set at 50%, 50 MBE and 13% WBE. At this point, they are currently achieving, hold on, let me get something else in front of me here. They are currently achieving 9 and 5. So they are short of our goals and obviously short of their own, the CUP goals. So
Do you have a utilization as to what portion of the project they had turned in when they would be utilizing minority business enterprises and WBE's? Which portion, first, second, or third of the project? And what portion are they in? What percentage of completion?
yes, Michael, can you answer that one, or Nikai?
Good morning. This is Nakai Nora. Can you guys hear me all right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yes.
To speak to phase one, total construction is at about 60%, which is consistent with the bulk of the rough carpentry that has been going on. The building located at 27th and Brooklyn on the corner is vertical right now, and we are looking to attain more or reach more of our goal requests once we start on finished carpentry, which is the bulk for a lot of our subs, MBE subs. Their contract is for that. I spoke with Rio about our goals, and some numbers that I sent over to her spoke to a sub or two that were at about 40% of their contract, and a couple had not started because they have the finished carpentry, which is hasn't commenced yet. So
What percent do you have under contract? And is that consistent with the your 50 and 13?
I do not have that in front of me right now. I'm not 100% sure what we have under contract. Just to give you a little background, this officially became my project on the 1st of this month. So it is safe to say that I'm fairly new as a project manager in the realm of single family development. So also please forgive me for my ignorance in how this process works and for some of the misinformation that I provided at my last appearance. But I do not have the CUP in front of me for the start of phase one.
What's your position on this project, HRD?
We will be conducting an on-site soon. But at this point, I do want to clarify, Nikai, did you say you were at 16% completion, 16, or 60, 60?
60, and Michael can confirm that as well.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
On that.
Obviously, that would be a concern when we look at projections, but I think an on-site will tell us more where they stand as far as achieving the goals that they've set forth in the CUP.
Well, based on the goals and the amount remaining, there's absolutely no way they can touch their CUP numbers. Even I can do that math.
It's mathematically impossible. Like, you got about less than $400,000 encumbered or in your tax. You can't get to the goal set. My real question is, if in fact we're not going to get there, it looks like the information we're given today is basically unchanged from last month as far as the goal setting.
Yes. You're right, Gabe. From everything that I read and see, it's the same. How can we as a board go forward and sanction going forward with phase 2 when we can't get information on phase 1? I thought it was pretty clear from the board standpoint when we put the project on hold that somebody from the development department and the city would have gotten on top of this. They've been able to get the information to the board. We're responsible for these goals and how they're set. And what happens when contractors following these contractors see that they could be in that, HRD could be in that, and the board, the fairness board as well.
Can I ask a question? This is Kevin O'Neill. Why would we even go forward allowing them to have an abatement at this stage of the game? And I apologize. I know I don't attend all these meetings, but I'm curious to Bob's point. They're not going to make it. And I mean, there seems to be a lot of discussion about everything but taking back the abatement. And I think that's going to be critical in the future on these job sites. If we're going to have any power over them, they have to see that there's a penalty.
Do we have anything in the ordinance that contractors from going forward when they're not meeting the ordinance's requirements as set forth in the bid documents from the beginning? Is there any way we could stop contractors from going forth in the future until they comply?
Could I interject here?
I'm sorry, this is Andrea Dorch, the director of HRD. I'd like to request to go into a closed session since we are getting on legal territory when we're talking about things that have to do with the abatement contract as well as the minority and women-owned participation. So that's my suggestion, because I think once we start going there, that we're on some different ground.
I agree, Madam Director, I agree. We have not had the occasion where we've gone into a sidebar or of that sort where we're doing this virtually. We've done that when we were in person. Is there a suggestion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Gabe.
Okay, Gabe, you have the floor.
I understand, we are where we are, but, to keep the same goals on phase 2, knowing that they're not attainable, or at least in the first phase of this project, just speaks to a lack of attention. I'm not trying to pick on anybody, but if you know you're 60% complete and you know you're currently at 9 and 15, which is less than half of what you set your goals at, then I would assume before you would 9 and 5. Yeah, I would assume before you submitted phase 2 to us, you would have an explanation on the first phase, and we're just not getting it. And I'm not trying to pick on people. We are where we are, but let's not repeat. I mean, I appreciate Councilman O'Neill's questions about how do we resolve these issues in a general sense, but we need to figure out how do we move forward with this, or do we need to table this again until we get accurate information on phase 1, and then we can appropriately assess phase 2. I don't see how we can appropriately assess phase 2 until we understand how phase 1 was conducted.
I agree wholeheartedly, Mr. Perez.
Mr. Chair, this is Bob Lohman.
Go ahead, Bob.
like last month, I'd like to make a motion to set this project aside for another month and let HRD and the department figure out what they need to do to get this straight for us so we can actually make an informed decision.
Is that a motion?
It was a motion.
I will
Is there a
second that,
second?
Mr.
It's been
Chairman,
moved
I
and
will second
second. It's been moved and second by Bob Lohman and second by Mr. Perez to set the project aside for further information until our next meeting. And also, Ms. Dorch, if you would set up the mechanism where we could have a sidebar after this meeting or at another date to discuss legality is something I appreciate.
I will do that.
Okay, all in favor, we want to vote on that. All in favor?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
this is
Go right ahead.
Bridget. I agree with the motion in the second. I do think we need to be more specific on the answers that we want them to come back with. Otherwise, we're going to delay this again another month. I wasn't in the conversation last month, but I don't understand. Did this project come to the Fairness Board? Did phase one come to the Fairness Board?
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
And we said the reason I had said that, Bridget, because I think we need a sidebar to discuss exactly what we need to have.
I agree.
But I
agree.
Okay. So that's what I'm asking the director. She would set that up in which we could all attend. If it requires a public notice, do so. But we need to have this aside from this meeting. We've got a lot of projects here to discuss, to go through. We gave the department ample time to come back with the information. I don't want to belabor this meeting going over it. We have an approval on the floor. We're ready for a vote. Will you call the roll, please?
Greenwell,
Aye.
Bowman,
Aye.
McCready,
Aye.
Perez,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
I have 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Ayes have it. Next project.
Okay, the next project is 2021-006219 Vine. It is a construction project estimated at $21,219,430 from Housing and Community Development. It's for the construction of 80 market and affordable rate residential units in the Wendell Phillips neighborhood near 19th and Vine, 18th and Vine. The department's recommended goals were 15 and 14. HRD's recommended goals are 15 and 10. We did find quite a bit of availability in pretty much all of the scopes of work here for construction, and knowing that there's going to be several scopes of work happening at the same time as they do the construction on these 80 units. And I'll turn it on over to the department.
Good morning, Chantrice Patillo, Housing Community Services Department. And so basically that was the summary. This is a mixed-use development in south of the 18th and Vine district. This will be a phase 1 project. Later they'll do phase 2 across the street, but this will consist of housing, 80 units, plus retail space on the bottom floor and an associated parking structure. I didn't know if the developer wanted to add anything else. Mr. Simmons is online if so.
Good morning to the board. My name is Kelvin Simmons. I am a developer, owner of this project, which is located at 1900 Vine Street. This project is in a distressed census tract area. It is the one-of-a-kind type of project in that it is a mixed use. 80 units as it has been discussed. There's going to be retail on the bottom, and there will be parking and covered parking. This is a project that received a CCED award, sales tax award. It is for the revitalization of the 18th and Vine area. As it has been discussed, this is phase one of 3 phases that this development team will be a part of, including the 18th and Vine area, as the city is readying for the development agreement. We did find a number of our MBE participation goals that we've discussed. We had a little bit of a problem with our WBE. We did seek opportunities for WBEs. We did get some of our WBE contractors who came back and said that they could not participate. Some were working on other projects, but we fully would like to move this project forward as best we possibly can. And so we would leave the discussion there and answer any questions that board members might have.
Okay. Thank you. HRD, how did you see the project?
Again, we recommended goals of 15% MBE and 10% WBE. We did find previous similar projects in which there was participation that met or exceeded their goals. 27th and Gillum was, their goals were 14 and 9. They achieved 15 and 8. Traders on Grand, their goals were 15 and 10. They achieved 14 and 14. So our recommended goals for this one are set at 15 and 10.
Thank you. Board, question?
A bit of housekeeping first, Mr. Chairman. This is Perez. I'm assuming that the total cost of the project is the 21 rather than the 22. We got about $1 million discrepancy on the face page as opposed to the breakdowns. A little over $1 million, I guess. We have 22,282 and 21,219.
Is there anyone can answer that question, please? Kevin, what is your?
I apologize. I would go with the 22. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. There, the 22,282 also originally included contingency and some other items that had been taken out. I'm sorry, give me one moment to find the original here. General conditions, contractor fee were taken out of the total that they presented originally, bringing it down to 21.2.
So that $1 million is no longer part of this project.
It's not part of the construction scopes of work.
That would be correct from our end. It's 21,219 is the number.
That's construction.
Okay,
contract. Construction. Okay, thank you, Gabe. Anyone else have any questions reference to the breakdown the two departments saw?
Mr. Chair, this is Bob Lohman. I've got a question for Mr. Simmons.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Simmons, just to verify, these are not 80 individual residences. They are all under one structure, correct? Like
that
one
would be
big.
correct.
Okay.
Yes, it's a multifamily structure. One structure, phase one. Yes.
Perfect. And then, have you already subcontracted scopes of work?
Yes, we have our general contractor who may be on the phone with us. We selected Peric. This was a part of a bid where we ultimately had 4 bidders. We selected this bidder, and they have put the document together that you're seeing right now. And so, yes, we have moved forward with our subcontracting. And if Peric is on the line and they would like to add anything, I think we have Evan Childs with us, if that helps you, Mr. Lohman.
So some subcontracts have been let, or all subcontracts have been let?
At this point in time, I'm going to tell you that I am aware of some. I'm not aware of all, because we're still in that process right now in phase one, but I don't want to speak out of turn with my contractor on the line. So Evan, you may be on mute. I think I see you here. If you could answer Mr. Lohman's question, please.
Yes, I can. We of course have taken bids on all the scopes of work. We are in the process of reviewing those and negotiating the scopes of work to make sure that we're complete. No subcontracts have been written at this time.
Okay.
Thank you for the clarification. Yes, appreciate it.
Okay. And then I have a question for HRD in terms of how they looked at the project. So is that you, Rio?
Yes. And I'm sorry, could you repeat your question?
Well, my question to you is, when you are looking at these projects, you're doing an awful lot of splitting scopes of work between minority and women business enterprises, and no self-respecting general contractor is going to write two subcontracts for the same scope of work to split minority and women business enterprises. And so I think we need to determine whether we're going to look at a scope of work for either a minority business enterprise or a woman business enterprise, because we're not going to overtax our general contractors to write multiple contracts that aren't in the same scope.
Absolutely. Yes. I did split it up in some areas where I thought there was going to be concurrent locations, being worked on.
Yeah, but from a contracting perspective, if this were 80 individual residences, I might understand splitting up things, but since it's one construction entity, that's just not how it would be subcontracted.
Understood. Thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Simmons, this is Don Greenwell. Is the construction, the parking structure, the retail is a podium, and then it's the wood frame, 80 units sitting on top of that?
I'm going to defer to the contractor. I want to say the answer to that is yes. I will tell you that when this project began and we went down the road of formulating this project, getting the investors on board, we were pre-COVID. We're now post-COVID. And having a post-COVID project such as this, you can imagine that lumber and work force is entirely different. When we started this project, we're probably $3 million over the original amount of what it was going to be. And these are difficult projects to do on the east side of Kansas City. With all due respect, in terms of what HRD has talked about, they looked at Grand, they looked at other places on the west side of Kansas City. We're doing an east side project, and it's the first of its nature. It's the kind that the community has been very supportive of. Can't tell you how many elected officials have been very supportive of this project. Mr. O'Neill is on the line. Even they have been very supportive in some form or fashion. And again, as the city of Kansas City is grappling with a housing shortage right now, this is one of the first projects coming out of the ground of its size, of its nature, and of its scope. And we sure did want to be in the ground, and we wish we would have been in the ground sooner. But we can't, determine the issues that we're having with COVID, some of those issues being workforce issues and some of those being lumber issues. And so I just want to give you that background as it relates to this project.
As a contractor, retired contractor, you said in the beginning that you reduced the project down from 22 million to 21 million. And if I had heard you right, you said you took out contingencies. What contractor in his right mind, post-COVID, would take out material contingency when you know the prices are going to be higher? Explain that.
I didn't say that. That was the HRD, I believe, who made those comments. But I'd have to turn that over to my contractor, and he's able to answer that from a contracting standpoint. So, Evan, if you would like to take that on.
Yes, we do have. I think what she had stated was that the fees, the general contractor fees, and the general condition costs have been taken out of that number for MBE, WBE participation calculations. There are some contingencies that are built in for various scopes of work that we know that there are risks, including wood and some other volatile materials. At this stage of the game, we recognize that this is not a project you would want to go into with no contingency. That would be quite a bit of risk.
That's the definite.
Mr. Chairman, this is Ferrer. I fully understand what the contractor's talking about. The contingencies and the GCs and et cetera are still in the project. They're just not being shown here. But I wanted to follow up on Mr. Lohman's comments is not only do we have kind of splitting the baby type thing between MB, WB, but specifically on the contractor side, we show less than full amounts devoted to MB, WB, and I'm wondering what the thinking is. I'm very well aware of material costs and labor issues, but I don't know any laborer, carpenter, or otherwise sitting at home because of COVID. So my question is, the scopes that you have split out are, for the most part, less than the total dollar amount of that scope. Why did we do that?
And Gabe, I specifically to your point, the drywall taping and finishing, it looks like it's MBE, WBE, and majority. There's like 3 different groups, 3 different companies at a minimum.
Yeah.
Well, my question is, for example, acoustical ceiling. You've got $7,000 in there, $7,600, and yet you devote $3,800 to MBE. Are you fearful that an MBE cannot do $7,600 worth of work?
No, I believe that they can, and that would be an area that we could look into making sure that we make that a complete scope for sure.
And that's up and down the line. If you look at the breakdown, sidewalks, storm drainage, on and on and on. I'm just trying to figure out the rationale there. Understand, gentlemen, I know you're an out-of-town contractor, but this is where the minority and women contractors in this town live, in all these scopes. This type of construction is right up their alley, so we need to make sure they're included.
Yes, I understand fully, and we are a local general contractor, but and we understand the requirements and the needs, and we would certainly want to maximize that as much as possible. Some of those reductions may be reflected because they were second-tier subs or suppliers for certain scopes of work, but we would certainly strive to maximize scopes of work to MBE, WBE contractors wherever possible.
This is McGreevy talking. Other projects that have come in front of the board recently, probably over the last 2 or 3 meetings where we have this much work subcontracted, we've recognized that we have a lot of availability and pushed for higher requirements.
I think on our examples too, there's a big difference, between Traders on Grand, which was a remodel of a historic building, but the 27th and Gillum project, much more in line with what's going on here, and a project that should be transformative in a lot of ways.
How is that relevant to the minority participation? Or the subcontracting, we're trying to, to let you know, the majority of us are contractors or contractor trades representative dealing with contracting and bidding on a day-to-day basis. We're seeing something that is just out of the norm. I think that's what some of the gentlemen that you've heard speak say, that's what they're referencing to. You don't normally see a scope of work that could easily be done by a contractor on one single job. As Bob Lohman had said, I could see it in some areas where we have a job that's scattered out over 5 to 6 different locations. You might do that, but when you're in one general location, that's something that's not normally done. I can also see if you have a majority contractor, and you should be able to explain that if that's the case. If you have a majority contractor that you required he get minority participation, and he subbed out that dollar amount of participation, you would probably have the documents, or should have, right there to be able to explain that to us. I was directed to the contractor who's let part of the project out and have already got contracts pending.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, this is Bob Lohman.
Yes, Bob, go right ahead.
I would, I'm not sure I agree with either of the goals set by the department and developer or HRD on this. So I think I'm going to make a motion to recommend something different. I'd actually recommend a goal of 17 and 13.
There's a motion on the floor to set a goal by the Furnace and Construction Board of 17 and 13. Is there a second?
This is Greenwell. There's a second.
It's been moved and second to set the goal on this project at 17 and 13. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Greenwell,
Aye.
Lohman,
Aye.
Greeley,
Nay.
Perez,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
I have 4 ayes, 1 nay.
Ayes have it. The project goal is set at 17 and 13. Thank you very much. Next project, please.
Good afternoon. Good morning. This is Dion with HRD here to present the aviation furniture replacement project, contract number EVP 2855. This is a contract for the aviation furniture replacement project with Acornis. The department submitted the goals coming in at
Deanne, excuse me, can I ask our chairman just a quick question?
Yes.
This is Bob Lohman.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, why are we hearing a goods and services project when we are a construction project?
Well, I was wondering the same thing myself. Is there anyone from the department?
This was because of the value of the installation on the contract. So we wanted you all to see it. It is a KCI project. We want to make sure that there are fairness in these goals. So we made sure to put them through because it wasn't quite clear what type of furniture it was. So there could be some construction included in it. It could be some attachment. So that's why we wanted to put it in.
It doesn't feel like
Andrea.
a construction job, though. It feels like providing office equipment and furniture.
It could be, but the value of it is more than what we would normally see. And again, because it is construction related and we do set goals on these, we wanted to send them through the Fairness and Construction Board to ensure that the goals on there were set appropriately. Carpenters are included. I can see you, Mr. Lohman. I understand. But again, we don't know because there's been a lot of contention with some of this stuff. It could actually be construction related. So that's why we put it through. If you all don't want to hear it, you can pass on it.
Can I provide some insight?
Yeah, I'm Don Greenwell. Were you saying something?
My name's Ian Redhead. I'm the
Ian
deputy director. Good morning. My name's Ian Redhead. I'm the deputy director of the airport. So maybe I can provide some insight on this.
Okay.
The reason that this is the first time I've ever come before this board. So if there's something you need, just let me explain it. About 3 years ago, we purchased a number of chairs in the existing terminals. We went through a selection process, and the current chairs that we have in the public area that some of you've seen, which have the plugs and the cups and so forth, we chose this brand of chair because we thought that it would be possible if we went to the new terminal, if this company was selected, we could then move these chairs into the new terminal. These chairs, there's about 1,000 of these chairs. The value is about $700 and something thousand. When we went to the new terminal, these are the company that was selected. These are the exact same chairs that will be put into the new terminal. The construction portion of it is they have to hire somebody to put all the new chairs together that are going to be put into the new terminal. So we're saving about $700 and something thousand by going with this current company. The aviation department decided to do this as a direct contract as opposed to putting it through the current process because we would reduce the markups and therefore reduce our overall cost.
Okay, makes sense. Does that help, Bob?
It helps, but it's assembly of equipment. It's not construction.
Correct.
That's accurate.
So my question is, don't we have an across the board goal for construction at the airport?
Andrew, you do, but because this was being done as a procurement through the aviation department, we weren't sure whether that would apply because it's a separate contract. It's not being procured by the actual project. I'm just trying to help you guys.
Yeah.
It kind of points out that it's in between maybe construction and something that would just be general procurement.
Exactly. And that's exactly why we brought it through here. We could have just set the goal and sent it back, and then it would have been another issue on the back end of why didn't we bring it through. So in order to avoid that, I wanted to bring it through the Fairness and Construction Board so that you all can see what's going on related to the construction. Again, because it's hybrid, as Ian explained, there was a lot of movement. This is a direct purchase from aviation. Those are unrelated to the Clark White's Clarkson side of things. This is our aviation department.
And, when it comes to, tenant finish, really post-tenant finish, and the furniture installation, that is claimed carpenters, jurisdiction. So I think it may be coming up in the context of what is included, like the IRS center, for example. The installation of the furniture was quite an issue.
Thank you.
So does it hurt for us to set a goal, and then if it's not construction, then it's not?
Well, it's
No,
going to be.
this is allowed. This is Andrea again. I know that me and Bridget sound similar. This is Andrea. But it is allowed. You can set the goal. It's just reinforcing what I have, or if you all recommend something else, that we can then apply that to this particular project. So.
But they wouldn't be able to hold anybody. So why do that? So wait.
Yes, because whoever is at 319, again, the reason why is so that I can ensure that we have both quantitative and qualitative review of the project. And the Fairness and Construction Board is our qualitative review to ensure that we have individuals that can perform this type of work, to make sure that the public knows what's going on the projects, and that they're not just being assessed these goals or goals set on them.
Mr. Chair, I have one other quick question for Ian. Ian, so is this pretty much for the passenger area furniture, or will it also include modular systems within the office area?
No, this is 100% for the boarding bridges within the passenger areas. It does not include outfit of tenant lease areas or any of those things. This is 100% seating for the public. That's why we decided to do it as an aviation project and to save the money for it.
Okay, this is an unusual circumstance. That's why I was asking you, Don, who deal with carpenters, to weigh in, from that point of view. But I do have another general question on the goals that are set on the project, on the actual document that has to be signed. You got a 15, the goals are set for 15% and 15%, but yet on the breakout, they've only got 15% WBE. The worksheet.
That's because in my analysis I didn't include the carpentry portion of it, in which Andrea caught and improperly assessed it at the 15% for the carpentry side. That was in addition with the assembly.
Okay.
Guys, it's strictly assembly.
Okay, I'm talking about the goal that is set on the breakdown on the HRD side. You have 15% WBE and 0% DBE or MBE. On the sheet that has to be signed for the document, you have 15 on your docker sheet, sign sheet. You have 15.
Yes, sir. And as I was just explaining, when I did it, I was doing it strictly on assembly. And again, having some further conversation. Typically in these situations, carpentry is also included with that. And so I took out the carpentry portion of it. And so that's why the goals are set at 15 and 15 versus 15 and 0 and 15.
Okay.
So then your recommendation is 15 and 15?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, that was Bridget. I'm sorry.
Here's where I need some clarification, because there's no carpentry involved. It's just assembly of components. So Andrea, we need to adjust this. This is just, these parts are shipped here and they're assembled here, and that's the company is a local company that does the assembly. So I thought it was only just one participation level.
No, it's not. Actually, you all recommended 2% and 2%. And as Don explained, the carpenters are actually claiming this work. This isn't just like, okay, someone can assemble it and you don't have to pay like the prevailing wage and all that stuff. So that's why we set it at that level. That's why we set it at that level.
Okay.
And it's a goal. I want to clarify, these aren't quotas, these are goals. So wherever they're trying to achieve it, we would like for them to try to achieve it on both sides. If it's not, they would show us good faith efforts, including that maybe you used one installer, and we would be able to consider that and give the waiver on the other side. But we'd like for them to make a good faith effort to do so.
Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Mr. Chair, this is Bridget.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
Bridget, go ahead, Bridget. And then you gave.
I think I just heard aviation just say this project wasn't bid, that it was basically, for lack of a better word, sole sourced to the existing company that provided the seats in the current terminal. Is that correct?
So it is a sole procurement based on the fact that we already have $700,000 of existing inventory. And we already went through a procurement process a few years ago to figure out what would we considered to be the best chairs as an alternative for the new facility with that in mind. So in essence, if we had tried to go out and put this out to bid, and the company, the chairs that we currently have, there was a different company that won it, it would have cost us more than $1 million more to this project.
So, but I mean, I'm just trying to talk this through. So you're basically procuring it with the existing company that has no idea what the goals are going to be. Don't you think that they were probably going to have to amend their current contract to deliver on, to at least try to achieve the goals that they weren't aware that they had to have?
So I'm not exactly sure. I don't currently have any contract with a company. These chairs were procured, the chairs that we currently have at the airport were procured about 4 years ago. So I don't have an existing contract. The procurement that we're going out is we got bids for the total number of chairs that were necessary in the new terminal. And I know that there have been some discussions with the company to determine whether or not they were capable of meeting certain goals. And I believe that's where the original 15% came from. And that was done with purchasing.
So you have to subcontract to install. That is
yes,
what you're saying.
That's what they're proposing to do. Yes, ma'am, you're correct.
Okay.
And that's a normal procedure. A seating company manufactures the seat, ships it in, and is bidded to be installed, whether it's in a theater, in a ballpark, or the aviation department. You got several different seating companies that manufacture seats, but they don't actually do the installing. And the owner normally bids out the installation from a local contractor. So I think that's what we're seeing here. It's just a local carpenter, not local contractor, who's doing the assembling itself. And these are the goals that sit on that. Does that make sense? Because that's what I'm understanding.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, this is Perez.
Go, Gabe.
Yeah, I mean, I get it that it's tricky, and whether or not we should be looking at this is that we could argue both ways. But at the end of the day, we're really talking about the $882,000, which is, what is that, Bob? It's over 20% of that project. We know sitting here that carpenter crews and scopes will be claimed by the carpenters. So are we comfortable with setting the 882 grand at 20, I don't know, 20 some percent of the total project? Because I'm looking at your math, and $88,000 is not 2% of 882,000. So I'm just trying to get some clarity, because we're really talking about a little over 20% of the project that will go, that has the possibility to go to an MB or WB. I'm open for ideas, but that's where we're at.
Well, and Mr. Chair, this is Bob Lohman again.
Yeah.
Back to math. Goals of 15 and 15 would exceed the amount of the assembly and installation services budget.
Yeah, exactly.
By 50%. So obviously those aren't good goals either.
The goal total can't exceed the let me get a calculator, but it's a little over 20% of the total cost of the project, because that's the only scope that we have an interest in at this point.
Yeah, because if you divided that out
This is
50-50
true.
between
That is true.
WBE, what percent would that be?
And that
Yeah,
is
it's,
true.
it's less than, it's like 21 or 22% of the project.
And that is
21%,
true.
yeah.
It's a bust in our formula on the spreadsheet. So you're right. It should only be $882,800. And I can
Yeah.
do the calculation there to split it.
Yeah. So I'm open for ideas, but I think that's really, I mean, in practical terms, that's the only thing we can address. And again, without splitting that 800 and some odd dollars up, and which would be more than likely go to one local firm, then that's what we're dealing with, which would make your goals about 21% total. And that's, you know, that's as high as it could be, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, based upon the dollars.
I would update my recommendation based on that to 10.5 and 10.5.
There's a recommendation from the Human Relations Department to set the goal at 10.5 and 10.5. It's in your hands for it. Give us a dollar breakdown of that, if you would.
Anybody want to arm wrestle whether we ought to do this WB or MB? I just hate splitting it up is all.
Yeah, split it and go, and if one of them get it or the other, you document it.
It would be $92,662.
Okay. Board, what's your pleasure?
So hold on. I'm specifically, I'll ask Ms. Dorch, what are the numbers? What are the dollar numbers of the recommendation from HRD?
$92,662.50
For both sides.
for both sides.
So
$185,325
okay.
of the $882,000.
Yeah, but the total project is 4 million, and so.
But we had to take out the 3.1 for the actual furniture, 44,000 for the shipping, and we just set it on the $882,800.
Well, I understand that, but the total project value is $4 million. And so we're actually looking at, your goal would be 2.25% minority and 2.25% WBE to have the math work on the $4 million project amount.
We
understand that we don't.
It out though, Mr. Longman, we would take out the furniture and the shipping. That's why I said we have a bust in our spreadsheet. We will take that out so that the goal will be set on the 882,000, not making a 2.5% goal. We're going to do a 10.5% goal on what is actually contractable.
So the project will be relabeled as aviation furniture assembly and installation.
Yes, we will update that.
Okay, that makes sense.
So do we want to do 10, 10.5?
10.5, 10.5.
Because we could have had this furniture installed by now.
Yeah. Yeah. me and Ray Charles. Okay. Okay, board. Facetiously speaking, what's your pleasure? Ms. Dorch has proposed that we set the goal strictly on the installation part of the $882,800, and that goal comes out to 10.5 and 10.5.
I'll make a motion to accept HRD's modified recommendation of changing the dollar value to 882,800 with goals of 10.5 and 10.5.
For the record,
Um,
do we have a second?
I'm gonna second that. I'm gonna second that and hold my nose.
To modify the goals as stated by Mr. Loman. All in favor, clerk call the roll.
Greenwell,
Aye.
Bowman,
Aye.
McCready,
Aye.
Perez,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
I have 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Ayes have it. The project vote is set at 10 and 5. Next project. 10.5 and 10.5. Next project, please. Got a long ways to go.
Gabe, if
third
you're
project.
talking, we can't hear you.
I'm not saying a thing.
It's in the hands of HRD right now for the next project.
No, we're talking about Gabe in HRD.
Oh, okay.
He's presenting the next.
You got a Gabe, you got a Gabe in HRD?
Gabriel.
Must be a heck of a guy.
He said he wants to be like you when he grows up.
Oh, man.
Right
He's
now,
gone
we just
astray
wanna
already.
speak. We want to just speak.
Am I clear now?
Yes, Gabe.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh. Let me say. Sorry for that failure. My name is Gabriel Kaur with the HRD. I've been around, but I've not been doing representation, so that's why you never heard about me. I have a little bit of accent, so I have to slow down. If you have a question, don't hesitate. This project is Terminal Public Address System Upgrade, project number EV2856. The contract estimate value is $681,008. This is procurement service in partnership with Aviation Department, enter into solicitation contract with the Siemens. Because of lack of availability, the department set this project for 1% MBE and 1% WBE. I will turn the project over to the department if there's somebody want to add more.
So this is Ian Redhead again. So this is another one of those hybrid ones. So we currently have all airports have PA systems. We have an antiquated system in Terminal B and Terminal C that is currently not being supported. So what we did is we waited until the award of the PA system in the new facility, and that was awarded to Siemens. And we had taken out a number of components when we demolished Terminal A, and we were using that for parts to maintain the system between systems in Terminal B and Terminal C. Once the contract was awarded to the provider for the new facility, what we did is we went out and we got a couple quotes. And the best thing we found was to be able to go to the company that is going to be installing the PA system in the new facility. They made a recommendation to install components in one of the terminals and then take those older components out of that terminal and help to maintain the other terminal. And therefore, instead of having to spend over $1.something million that we would never amortize by the time we open the terminal in March of 2023, we're going to be able to use some of the components from the existing terminal to maintain one terminal. Part of the deal is all of the components that are being put in the new terminal will then be able to be used as spares in the new facility when we demolish the existing terminal that's being upgraded. Did I speak too fast, or are there any other questions on that one? I'm trying to buy time, but we have to put in some sort of a system because there's a serious failure. These are all the PA systems that the airlines use in the gate hole areas when they make pages overhead. All of these systems are part of the PA system and any of the announcements and so that you hear when you're in the terminal.
And this is Andrea Dorch. I'm sorry. I wanted to just add to that we would update these goals to 5% and 5% and do what we did on the other one by eliminating the equipment, the warranty, and the assurance plan, and only including the labor.
Thank you, Andrea. Saves a lot of time.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead,
I just had one quick question. I appreciate Andrea jumping to the chase. My only question was, having worked with Siemens in the past, do we have, I think they have proprietary agreements. So in other words, the installation must be by a Siemens rep or a Siemens certified installer. Is that, have we found those on this, or is that still the case?
This is not a Siemens proprietary system that is being installed. So I'm not sure whether that applies. It's a PA system that they're procuring as part of the new terminal, but it's not a Siemens proprietary system.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that whatever goal we set, we didn't set you up to fail if they say no way.
Okay. Andre, will you tell us what that dollar amount comes out to for that 5 and 5?
It would be the same. It would be the same $4,405.45. Again, with the look towards they're more than likely going to put it in one category, which will make it 10% overall. But yeah, it's still the $4,405.45.
And that probably would just go to one contractor, so whether it be MB or WBE, it really wouldn't. Or what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I hate to be contrarian all day today, but apparently that's my role. So if we flip the equipment out, that drops the dollar value of the project below our $324,000 threshold. And I'm curious whether there's 800 hours worth of work. So again, should we be hearing this project?
Good catch. You're absolutely correct. So I guess we would withdraw since we would take out the equipment, the warranty, and the assurance plan. Is it okay if someone makes a motion that HRD is recommending to withdraw this from the Fairness and Construction Board?
Has to be Bob Lohman.
Well, then I'll make that motion.
Second, Bridget Williams.
It's been moved and seconded to remove this project from the Fairness and Construction Board goal settings. All in favor? Roll.
Greenwell,
Aye.
Lohman,
Aye.
McCready,
Aye.
Perez,
Aye. Congratulations, Bob.
Williams.
Aye.
I have 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you. Ayes have it. Next project, limit multipurpose limited main intersection.
This is Rio again, and I'm happy to announce we are now entering the phase of good old-fashioned public works projects.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
This project is Linwood and Main intersection improvements. Project number 89008890. And it is at $1.5 million. The total MBE dollars were set at 225,000 out of 1.5 million for a recommended goal of 15%. And for WBE, $122,500 out of the 1.5 million for a recommended goal of 8% WBE. They are slightly in line with what the department recommends at 13 and 8. And so with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to the department.
Good morning, because it's still morning. This is Patty Hildebrand with the Public Works Department, and I'm happy to usher in the good old-fashioned public works projects. This Linwood and Main project is going to be a reconstruction of that intersection. We've had a lot of shoving and rutting and just generally bad pavement there for quite a while. And with the streetcar coming through there, it's kind of a timeliness issue of needing to get in there, like all the utility work that's going on right now. We're going to need to get in and deal with that pavement before the streetcar line is put in. This will also include dealing with the curbs and the sidewalks, installing ADA corners and striping. So you can see our breakout of items, and as they said, we recommended 13 and 8. They've adjusted that to 15 and 8. I don't foresee that being a major issue.
Thank you.
This is Rio again. Yes, we did find previous projects very similar to this one that were actually self-performed by a WBE prime. Goals on 107th Street Sidewalk project was set at 15 and 7. They achieved 33 and 11. Another Walnut Street Walnut Street improvements over by the city market. The goals were 15 and 10, and they achieved 17 and 17. And again, we're finding MBE and WBE utilization in pretty much all the scopes of work involved.
Thank you. Board, questions? The second project that you referenced in the city market area, the first one you set up was a WBE contractor. The second project in the city market, was that a majority contractor stepping out to get his go?
I'm sorry, not sure I heard that full question. Both projects were self-performed by the WBE prime.
Okay, second project.
Yes.
Was that a majority contractor subcontracting to meet his goals?
I'm sorry, the second project was also self-performed by a WBE, and yes, they achieved 17 and 17, surpassing the 15 and 10.
Okay. All right, thank you. Questions from the board? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to go with the department's recommendation of 15 and 8.
There's a motion.
Greenwell.
I will
Greenwell
second.
And second by Don Greenwell. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Greenwell,
Aye.
Bowman,
Aye.
McCready,
Aye.
Perez,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
I have 5 ayes, 0 nays.
5 ayes, 0 nays. Ayes have the project go to set at 15 and 8. Next project, please.
Thank you very much.
Hello, this is Gabe again. This is Gabe again with Human Relations. The next project is at North Congress and 109 Storm Steel Collab project number 8903001. The dollar amount is $809,511. The goal has been set for MBE dollar value 63,360, which is 8%. For WBE has been set for $48,285, which is about 6%. The goal that was set by the department was 7 and 5. The department only increased the goal just 1%, which is 8 and 6. And the historical data show that the previous work that was done similar to this was set at 19 and 3, and they achieved 24 and 3. The other project was set at 8 and 18. They achieved 8 and 18. Third one was set at 22 and 3, and I think they achieved 22 and 3. I went with the close to the department due to the availability that were in the breakdown. And I can turn it over to the department.
Public Works. Anyone from Public Works?
I've seen a lot of people being accidentally dropped, so they may be getting back online.
Okay. In the meantime, board, do you have any questions of HRD? Anything you want to discuss about the project where we're waiting on them? Or do we have enough information at hand to move forward?
Mr. Chairman Perez, if they've got any historical data that backs this up, I would be ready to move on.
Okay. HRD, give us your historical data.
Yes, the historical data, the first one was set at 19 and 3, and they achieved 24 and 3. The second data was set at 8 and 18, and they achieved 8 and 18. The third one, they was set at 23 and 22 and 3, which they achieved as well. Like I mentioned earlier, I went closer to what was proposed by the department due to the availability in the breakdown sheet, cost breakdown.
Okay, makes it.
Thank you.
Okay.
So can you tell me what the total cost of the projects were from the historical data?
The first project was $3,698,285. The third one was $293,000. The fourth one was 1.5 million. Was $1,542,152. So there were only one was lower than the one we had now.
Okay. And then what would make the difference between what would be the determination between the 120 CMP or the 9 feet by 9 feet RCB?
Can you repeat that again, please?
So under the department, it has an option. One is 404 and one is 371,000. But under HRD, your assumption is that it's 404,500. So how would that be determined? I guess that's a question for the department.
Or is that a typo? Anyone from HRD can answer that?
Well, I just kind of went with what the department proposed. I think the department are the one who proposed the 404. So I just went with the number that they provide to us, and I did not go for the alternative.
The department proposed an option.
Yes.
And my question is, how would it be determined which option is feasible?
Well, again, out of my ignorance, I just went with the first suggestion. I didn't go for the second one, but I'm not quite sure if it will make any of it different if I'm using the alternative or the one that they suggested.
Has anybody from Public Works joined us yet? Dave Miller or whoever's presenting the project?
This is David Miller from Public Works.
Okay, you heard the question that Ms. Nguyen posed to HRD, reference to the alternate 1 and 2. Give us your take.
Honestly, I just joined and I didn't hear the question. I'm just was trying to figure out what project you were even talking about. I'm sorry.
Oh. Okay.
So
so
we're. Go ahead.
Give him the project number so he'll know where we're at. We're dealing with project number 89030001, North Congress at North 109th Street, sewer storm collapse.
Okay, all right. Now, thank you. All right. So there was 2 alternates between the large corrugated metal pipe, which is what it is now, or to replace it with a concrete box as alternates to see which would be more economical. They both would function equally.
Okay, you had 2 costs there, one for $404,500 and the other for $371. HRD just assumed that you would take the $404,500 as he does in his analysis. Is he assuming correctly? I think it's a question for Bridget.
Yes, he's assuming correctly. We would go with the lower price one that comes in.
So then they assumed incorrectly.
We would go with whichever was the lowest price. That was the goal.
Okay.
I think their comment is that on HRD, they assumed that the low bid's gonna have the corrugated metal pipe because they use the 404 number. But really, you don't know which one is going to be utilized until you get your bids.
You're absolutely right. That's right.
So I would say it doesn't really matter which one HRD puts in, and they don't have any participation in it.
Right.
And $30,000 in the total cost of the project doesn't swing the percentage terribly much.
No. A little bit on that.
I think whatever the department went with, that is what we also put in, because the top part of the spreadsheet, that number also match with the bottom part of the spreadsheet. So if the department went with 371 according to this math, then that is exactly what we also recommended, added into the overall amount of contract.
The total amount of 809,511 is using the 404,500 number by both HRD and the department. Just
correct.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get to.
I was just about to say that it looks like we just used the higher number, and if it comes back, they have the lower number in there. It'll still be 8 and 6.
Okay.
And it really it's irrelevant with the exception of the larger dollar amount because the gold is not even set on any portion of the corrugated metal or the cast and plate.
Right.
So what's your pleasure, board?
Mr. Chair, this is Bob Lohman.
Yes.
I would make a motion to accept HRD's recommendation of 8 and 6.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's
This
been
is Bridget
moved.
Williams.
Thank you. It's been moved by Bob Lohman and second by Bridget Williams to accept the goal set by HRD at 8 and 6. Call the roll, please.
Greenwell,
Aye.
Lohman,
Aye.
McCreevy,
Aye.
Perez,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
I have 5 ayes and 0 nays.
Ayes have it. Goal is set at go back to that 8 and 6.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next project, please.
Yes, this is Morris Lange for HRD.
Next project is 89007635, citywide LED streetlight conversion and streetlight maintenance. This is like the third time that we've reviewed this project. They've changed the dollar amount and the scopes of work included in it each time, and the current estimated contract amount is $96,300,000, and this time it includes the maintenance component. HRD reviewed it and recommended goals of 15% MBE and 15% WBE, which are the same as the goals that had been recommended on the previous one. I'll turn this over to the Department of Public Works to discuss.
Good morning. This is Tram Moore from Public Works Street Lighting. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. This is a citywide street lighting improvement project, which will have now a construction component as well as a maintenance component. The construction component will involve changing out approximately about 84,000 existing streetlights to LED. It includes the purchase of the LED luminaires, changing out the luminaires, and also collecting GPS data at each location. As stated, for background information, in February of this year, Public Works submitted goals requests for the conversion component of this project, in which the Fairness Board did set goals at 15 and 15. At the recent request of the city manager, we are now including the streetlight maintenance component to the construction conversion work. So the maintenance component will involve the routine maintenance of all the streetlights in Kansas City, including the LED streetlights as well as non-LEDs. The work includes all material and labor to perform the streetlight maintenance. And we also have a few traffic signals, including on the maintenance as well. So the goals for the current maintenance contract were previously set by the Fairness Board at 15 and 10. However, Public Works and Human Relations have recommended 15 and 15 for this project.
Thank you. HRD.
Okay, when we reviewed it, we were looking, I mean, there's only 4 real scopes of work included in the project, but obviously it's a citywide project. So this is going to be subbed out by location. It's like 90,000 street lights in Kansas City. We got our participation on the MB side in the electrical materials, the electrical installation, and then the electrical maintenance services. And the same thing on the WBE side, except we also included the GIS mapping that is also included in this one. We also have a WBE firm that has done the streetlight surveys in the past, where they go around and find the ones that are out. They could also be used on this one, since that's been part of the maintenance contract. Found good availability in the electrical supplies, the electrical contractors, and in the mapping. So we're recommending the goals of 15% MBE and 15% WBE.
Thank you. Board, questions? We got plenty of data. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'm wondering why the totals, if we've got the same percentages, why the totals are off, department versus HRD.
I think it's just a rounding error on big numbers.
Okay, yeah, that's not, yeah. It just jumped out of me, Bob, you know.
Yep, no worries.
Trying to hold
I got my
up to your
calculator out.
example.
My calculator is out, Gabe. So I do have
Okay. You have an unfair advantage. So you set the threshold pretty high today, Bob. So
I know. Well, I'm going to continue to be ornery, I guess.
I think the difference, Bob, might be in the fact that we were crediting the electrical supplies at 60%, which is what it would be if the supplies were just purchased from an MBE or WBE. I think that's where one of the changes is. But if they also had one of the MBEs and WBs or WBEs installing it, they'd be able to get 100% credit for those supplies.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, may I ask a few questions?
Sure, go right ahead.
So I guess, Mark, I'll start with you.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, where you have the goal set for the conversion, which I believe also includes the purchasing of the materials, right? The entire goal, I'm adding up both MBE and WBE, but your recommendation is 50% of the total cost of the conversion will be allocated between MBE and WBE, which seems steep to me when you've got purchase of materials in there.
No, well, it looks like they've got the purchase of the materials split out because it has the first component of the streetlight conversion is the supply, and then the second component is remove and replace.
Yes, and 50% of the labor on removing luminaries and installing smart lighting equipment is allocated 50-50 between an MBE and a WBE.
Which is consistent with what the department recommended, I believe. And there's also
I haven't gone to the department yet to ask them how they're going to get the 50% split by having two.
And then the majority of the streetlight maintenance contract is going to the prime contractor, which it's much lower for the MB and WB participation on the maintenance component.
Correct, which, and on maintenance, I guess my question would actually go back to Public Works. What is the scope of maintenance? I mean, is there truly work that can be subcontracted, or is that the prime contractor going to manage all of that?
Well, I can speak to the part for the HRD's section of that is that the previous contract for citywide streetlight and traffic signal maintenance and repair, there was participation by MVs and WVs on that. Most recent one I could find was CS 11110132, citywide streetlight and traffic signal maintenance and repair for $39 million. Still open. The goals were set at 15 and 10. The CUP came in with 15 and 10, and they're achieving 22 and 12. Looks like it's almost finished. Participation was in the electrical contracting, the electrical supplies, and the streetlight inspections. Prime for that contract is Black and McDonald, and it's had multiple renewals.
Okay. So pick up a lot of their gold in the supplying and
okay, let me take a look at my. Looks like they've achieved participation mostly in the electrical contracting side. They have had some on the supply side. They use skilled sales company. But most of and then Nighthawk, which is the one that does the streetlight surveys, but the majority of the work on those contracts has been by NB and WBE electrical contractors. American Legacy's on this one. CCD, which is no longer in business, and Max Electric were included on this one.
So I guess what I'm hearing is Black and McDonald typically, if it's the assumption is being made that Black and McDonald, if it were them, that they would essentially subcontract all of these scopes versus
or a percentage of all of them.
A percentage.
Yeah.
Yes, because this is for 98,000 different streetlights that they're going to convert and then maintain. So
your goal is
Bob's point is a good one. I just wanted to make sure that we in fact had participation on the maintenance side, a history of participation on the maintenance side.
Yeah.
So, and if we do, because what is that? That's $63 million. So,
yeah, that's 2/3 of the project.
yeah. So, no, I get your point, Bob.
And is this a renewal or is this an actual procurement?
this is a new contract. This is for the conversion of them to the LEDs. So it's a new contract, and it's just being combined with the annual maintenance and repair contract, looks like to me. I don't know. Public Works could probably speak to that.
Yeah, this is Mahmoud Hajian. I'm in charge of the street lighting program, and the contract is a new contract, and the reason that we are lining it up is because the city council didn't really want it to do just a conversion by one contractor, perhaps, and then do a maintenance contract by another contractor. I mean, if it would have happened like that. So they wanted to combine that. There is some efficiencies there. And so that's what it is. The Black & McDonald is our current contractor. They have been able to meet the goals at 15 and 10% throughout the years, that they've had the contract, and we haven't had any issue. The only reason that we made this a 15 and 15 because the 15 and 15 was passed for the actual conversion and approved by your committee. And we understand that the council has always been wanting to go back to the original, like 10, 15 years ago when we were running 18 and 10 for the maintenance on the MBWBE respectively. And they've been asking that question. So that's why we aligned the two, because we already had a 15 and 15 approved by you folks, and we had a 15 and 10, but we increased that to a 15 and 15. And there is plenty of work on the maintenance side as well as the conversion side to meet those. And I believe HRD named some of the subcontractors that were used in the past by Black & McDonald, like GSC Supply and Max Electric and some of the folks that do the actual inspection and night patrol, Nighthawk, to meet those goals.
So I guess I'm trying to understand, this is a new contract that you're wrapping a maintenance agreement into that contract.
That is correct. In other words, our current maintenance contract, after this goes into effect, is no longer going to be out there. This is going to be whoever gets to install is also going to maintain.
For 10 years. I mean, are there renewals? What I just think this is reckless. It doesn't provide for any accountability for anyone to have a contract at this level for 10 years.
Yeah, I believe the discussion that we've had with the city manager on that is that this is a 10-year with option. It's a 1-year contract with option to renew for 9 years, similar to what we've had on our previous maintenance contract. I mean, our current maintenance contract is an 8-year contract, but it is a 1-year contract with 7 options to renew each year. In other words, we would go in front of the council, and depending on whether there is funding, basically is we will renew.
Yeah, and I will tell you, as chair of the workforce, that wasn't working either. So Mr. Chair, I don't know if this is in our realm of responsibility, but I don't know that this does, particularly the MBEs and WBEs a service. If, we set a goal for 10 years, not knowing what the availability is going to be in 6 months, and how this is being monitored and enforced.
Mr. Chair, this is Andrea
Mr.
Bush.
Chairman.
And I would actually agree with Ms. Williams' statements regarding the 10-year portion. We would only be able to do it for a year and have to revisit them because we can't guarantee the availability will still be there. And that is one of the biggest issues that have been going on in council, is that we have still goals by the time we come there that people have either dropped off or there's additional availability. So I would ask that, I don't know how we remedy this, but yeah, we would only be able to do it for a year and then bring it back. Before
even if the contract is with them for 10 years, we should be looking at it annually to set goals based upon availability.
Yes.
And
and this is a conversation we've had in the past.
I have no understanding why we'd wrap a 10-year maintenance agreement into a construction project and consider that all one project. It's clearly 2 different scopes of work with 2 opportunities for different sets of goals that we water it down by adding it all into one lump sum review.
One of the reasons for the term of the contract the way it is because the city manager has actually wants this to be financed by the folks that are going to install and maintain it. So in order for them to be able to finance it and be able to pay for it from the energy and maintenance saving over a period of time, it's going to take about 10 years for them to be able to do that. So therefore, it's not going to happen in a matter of a couple of years with the energy. They want to be able to pay for this project from all the savings from the energy and maintenance over a period of time. And every indication is that that would take at least 10 years.
So this is a performance-based contract that has guarantees on energy savings to offset costs.
Very similar to that, although it is not a typical ESCO energy service contract, because again, the manager wants to be able to have control over the financing part and be able to keep all the savings on the energy and maintenance side and pay them installment over a 10-year period. So they don't want them to be in charge of getting all those savings in their hand and charge the city for all the management fees and things like that. So it is a very creative way of doing this project with a financing option over a period of time using the current funding that the public work has for the energy and maintenance to pay for it on an installment basis.
I understand that. I'm sorry, Gabe, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I understand the contract, I understand the way they're trying to set it up. I would only feel comfortable in voting for goal setting on 2 stipulations. 1, that it's reviewed annually, and 2, that the goals, whatever they be set at today, apply and continue to apply to both portions of the contract, maintenance and new. I don't know if that's possible in a motion or not.
Well, Esquire, do we have an attorney available?
This is Dustin. I think second part is yes, the goals are going to apply. The first part, I don't know if our contract documents would contemplate revisiting goals annually. And like Gabe, as you said, we've talked about this several times. I know it's talked about in council a few times. You know, to me, it's kind of like a citywide discussion of whether we start setting goals that way. I just don't know if the contract documents, the procurement documents for this specific solicitation contemplate that or not. I wouldn't think they do.
Yeah, I would think, this is Mr. Chair, this is Bridget. I would think that that is a question we need answered. I also am not sure that the council is aware of exactly what this means. And so I think that needs to be clarified, whether we set goals today or not. I mean, I'm willing to go along kind of under protest, but I think at a minimum, this needs to be conveyed by the director to T&I when this project comes forward. I mean, this is $96 million. And they're fighting, you know, they're arguing over 200 goals on 250,000.
I agree. And my concern is setting goals for 10 years when we only know the availability that we have right now. We don't know what we'll have in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years.
Right.
So it does cause some concern. And I think we need more answers to be responsible. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. This is Andrea Dorch. I was going to say, Dustin, can you and I talk offline about whether or not annual is in comport with our disparity study? I thought it may allow us to set annual goals and review each update every year. So is that available?
I would just say, I think you can legally do that. It's just a pretty significant policy change. When you have these longer term contracts, I don't know what that looks like. I guess if you have a prime contractor that's doing like 15 and 10, for example, then a year later, so they have their subs and they have participation, they're meeting their participation. A year later, you know, obviously it's probably not going to go change that much, but say it jumps to 50 and 25, you know, that's kind of a pretty significant change in the contract scope. And so I don't know if you can hold them to the dollar amount of the contract at that stage, right? Because they've had, you know, if they have to go out and get more participation, that might have a, you know, significant change to the dollar amount of the contract. So I think it's more like policy issues like that. You know, if you have goals set, I don't know if that would increase contract sizes. It's just, what I'm saying, I guess, is it's a pretty significant change, and I think it warrants getting like procurement, all the departments involved. But I know they've talked about it in committee, because I've seen the council members talking about it in committee, about having annual goals set rather than total project goals. But to answer, I guess, just the direct question, it's legally permissible to do that. It's just a big change from what we're doing now.
Okay. So it sounds like it is permissible.
So from HRD's perspective, I would want to do annual as opposed to a 10-year. I just think it's gonna butt up against where our where we can defend the goals in 5 years, because to Dustin's point, if it's a downward availability and they get some type of penalty or liquidated damages because they're not meeting the goals, I think that puts us in a precarious situation to at least bring it back to you all. It could just stay the same. It could be downward. And I think at that point, if it did look like it was going to go up or something like that, that we would then have a closed discussion.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. It's
no, go right ahead.
My opinion would be, I mean, I think it would be a good policy for us to set, but none of this matters if the bid documents aren't changed to include that. I mean, I think if it is that we're going to review goals every year, they could stay the same, they could go up, they can go down, then contractors know what they're signing up for. I think the argument becomes when we go in and if for whatever reason, availability increases, we increase and they're not aware of that, that's where the issue lies. I mean, so that's one thing. I think the second thing is we're still wrapping around a new project with a 10-year maintenance agreement, and it's clumsy. And I get the financing, I get all of that, but I mean, if you just look at these numbers, these pure numbers, whoever the general contractor is winning. I mean, whether they're financing or not, so I mean, I think that this is a conversation to be had, and I don't think we should take it lightly, because if this is not going to come back for 10 years.
Well, you're right, Bridget. Now, bid documents are often information is added by addendum. So again, this go back to the legal department based upon how we set this goal for a year. Could those bid documents be modified to be added in by addendum?
I mean, to me, that's a pretty you can agree, you can do anything as long as the other party agrees to it, right? But if they don't agree to it, and I think Bridget kind of touched on it, you have to lay out the rules of the game at the outset. So, if the city wants to start setting goals annually, we'll have to amend our solicitation documents and our contract documents to do that.
Well, Justin, this is Gabe.
Okay.
Can't we simply put stipulations on our review, on our goal setting today that would force people to figure this out? We can't be fortune tellers. Heck, if I'm here in 10 years still doing this, then my plan's out the window. But we can't predict what's happening in 5 years or 10 years. So, like I said, if we put stipulations, the two stipulations that I suggested, wouldn't it trigger a review? And then if whoever's bidding on the job would either say, yes, I can live with that or not. In the council, that's a whole different issue. I won't even address that. But at least we're doing our job, and we're putting stipulations on a long-term new maintenance contract. And we can't be held to what happens in 10 years. As long as we put the stipulations on it, you can bid on it or not.
Yeah, I mean, you need to reflect that in the contract documents, though, right? Right. Like, if we get in a fight about it, I don't take Gabe to court and say, well, Gabe said it was this in the meeting and everybody voted for it, so we're all good. Judge is going to look at the contract documents.
Okay, then we have to hold for a second.
But Gabe said this on August 12th, of 2021. So, is the judge going to tell me, hey, Gabe, we need you out of the retirement center to come back and defend your comment you made 10 years ago?
So can we table this for these questions to be answered?
Or contract documents to be changed to reflect?
I would suggest maybe, Andre, if you want to reach out to the city manager and whoever, whether maybe even public works director, water, procurement. If this is like a change that people want to see happen, I think it's an important conversation at the director and city manager level and at the council level. It will take pretty significant changes to how we do things. So, but rank and file attorney, I can't really do anything. I can't change our form documents beyond what our policy right now is. If the policy changes, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I would recommend tabling this for our next meeting. Is this time sensitive?
Yes, it is. And tomorrow there is a pre-bid meeting. At this time, we put in the MBWB to be determined, but we need to have that because the bids are due next month, and that's it's a very aggressive schedule that the city manager has set on this project to move it forward.
And
Well,
I'd just like to add, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rich. I was
No,
just
go
going to say, I'd like to add that, remember, this is technically for a 1-year contract, if I understand Mahmood correctly, is that it is a 1-year contract with 9 renewal options, which would actually technically make those new contracts. We currently, how we do it with general services, when they come up for renewal, we review to see where participation is at that time. And if they're not meeting the goals, then they can actually resolicit a contract for new bids and proposals to come in. So I don't know if we want to table it right now or set the goals, and then to Dustin's suggestion, I can work with the city manager and see about getting those contract documents updated to reflect that it will be an annual review of goals.
And part of this is Bob Lohman. Part of the issue here, though, is whoever the contractor is providing financing for a 10-year period of time and guarantees on savings, and they're assuming that they've got $4.5 million worth of maintenance work every year for 10 years as part of that deal. And if we decide that they don't have that on the second year of the contract, well, financing's out the window, the guarantees are out the window, and the city manager is going to be left having to come up with money to pay for a financing deal that just fell through because the contractor didn't meet performance goals. Is the city manager aware of that? I would assume he is, but these are big financial hairy deals that are 10-year deals. So I get that.
I just think, at least for my comfort level, and I would be happy, to participate in a future meeting that might be earlier than our regular scheduled meeting if we get these questions answered. But I am not prepared to vote on this today.
And this is Bob Lohman. I echo Bridget's concerns that I don't think that we can set goals with as many changes that there could be to this contract over a 10-year period of time without getting direction from the city manager.
I would agree, unless, of course, we can add language like I had suggested earlier, which would force city manager and other departments to review.
So I mean, if it's at all helpful, Andrea's point is correct. Like, if they're 1-year contracts, and if we don't renew, you can always resolicit. There's a lot of, but you kind of run into the financing issues and stuff like that though too. But that's why I keep continuing to urge. This is a pretty big conversation with a lot of arguments on both sides, and it might even require changes to the ordinance. I mean, it's like, I don't think this is like we'll have a week turnaround on this. I think this is a big conversation that would happen over the course of a pretty lengthy period of time.
I agree with that, but I am not prepared to be a party to approving a $96 million 10-year contract for somebody to slip through the cracks because it's a long-term conversation. I think a conversation has to start at some point. And if this is what the city manager wants, I mean, that's fine. I just think we need clarity on on what's happening or what he wants, and make sure that in terms of the policy discussion that it's all in line. Because as a fairness board, we continue to get raked over the coals for stuff like this.
Mahmoud, have you gone to council for it? I assume that the answer is no, right?
No, we have not.
So there is one opportunity to, I understand both the need to move forward and then the hesitancy. There will be opportunity to discuss kind of those policy things at the committee level when this contract is approved, if that's at all helpful or gives anybody else some comfort in moving forward.
I think we're heading toward putting a hold on this project, which is fine with me. I don't have any problem because I'm not prepared to vote on it the way it's written. And I appreciate the comment that it's a renewable contract, but this is a 10-year renewable. So we've had this conversation years ago on other maintenance projects, and it seemed like we weren't able to move the ball at all. So if there's a motion that we could set on this, hold it, and some instruction we could give to legal and the HRD to say we need an answer on how you expect us to handle this, then I think we need to do something formally, because this is not the first time this has come up.
Gabe, are you ready to make that motion?
I would make a motion that we hold this project until I need to get some language together that makes sense, until we can receive further review and instruction from HRD and legal based on the 10-year
and the city manager.
And the city manager. And that's to be able to review the goals on an annual basis, even on a long-term contract, not just this one. And so they need to look at how that's going to look, and based upon the ordinance that we have, because we're responsible for setting goals on availability, and there's no way we could set a 10-year goal on availability for 10 years from now.
Absolutely. Just look how much the availability has changed in the last 5 years.
Yeah, we could be stuck with a lawsuit. So go ahead and rephrase your terms of setting this project aside, Gabe, again, please.
Is anybody a better wordsmith than me?
Set the project aside until further notice, based upon clarification. Go ahead. I'm not putting words in your mouth.
I got 3 different things going on here. So, yeah, based upon further instruction to this board, how they want to handle long-term maintenance contracts as it relates to goal setting.
Okay, is that it?
But if we don't send that message, then nothing's going to be done.
Okay. Okay, if that's it, then we're looking for a second based upon your motion.
Second. Williams.
It's been moved and by Gabe, as stated for the record, and second by Mrs. Williams. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Greenwell,
Aye.
Loman,
Aye.
McCready,
Aye.
Perez,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
I have 5 ayes, 0 nays.
I said it. When I say based upon the record, after a motion has been put on the floor, and I say based upon the record, that's your recording that states the person who makes the motion, taken directly from the recording. Next project.
Okay, the next project is a water main replacement project. It's 9415 /8002220 from Water Services Department for the water main replacement. The area of North Indiana Avenue to North Brookside Road, Northeast 48th Street to Northeast Berry Road, for an estimated cost of $4,758,000. HRD reviewed the project and recommended goals of 10% MBE and 9% WBE. Is there someone from the department to discuss the project?
Yes, this is Jerry Stevens. I'm project manager for this water main replacement project. Like was mentioned, it's a very large project. There's approximately 15,000, almost 16,000 lineal feet of water main that need to be replaced that we've put together. And it's $4,758,000 estimate. And the project duration is going to be 365 days to get this all done. I'd be happy to share a map online here if anyone's interested in seeing where these locations are at. Normally, we look at water main areas that have been shown some breaks and leaks that we target first of all. And we're in the process of actually going through the whole city and replacing all of our water mains over a long period of time. So, but we do target the ones that are break prone and fail or have shown failures in the past. Be happy to answer any questions that anyone might have. This is a standard water main replacement project. Hopefully it won't take as long to discuss as these other projects. So. Any questions?
Was that a challenge?
No.
He said, moving right along. Come on, HRD. I agree with the gentleman.
HRD found MBE participation in the pipe installation because it's such a big project, and the department had also recommended that some of that be segregated for participation. And then on the WBE side, we segregated the hauling, the erosion control, the traffic control, and the asphalt restoration work. There's also good availability in all the other scopes of work included in this project, except on the MBE side and traffic control. There's only one available, so they weren't listed as availability. We did set the goals a little bit higher on this one because it's a larger size project. The next water main replacement on the next one is like $4 million less than this project. So the goals were more in line with what we've been setting recently. But on these bigger projects, historically, we've been able to achieve a little higher participation than on the smaller ones. I found WSD 9171 water main replacement in the area Highland, which was also 4,795,000. Closed. The goals were set at 10% and 6%. The CUP came back with 10 and 6, and we ended up achieving 10 and 11 with participation in concrete, hauling, utilities, asphalt, and landscaping. Prime on that contract was Blue Nile, who also was a self-performing MBE, and they used a WBE also for pipe installation on that project. Then I had WSD 9184 water main replacement in the area of Bales for $4 million, still open. The goals were set at 10 and 6. The CUP came in with 10 and 6, and they're currently achieving 14 and 6, about 95% completed. Participation was in the pipe installation on the M and WB sides, and then hauling, landscaping. Prime is Leith and Sons. Then I had WSD 9168 water main replacement in the area of Mercier for $5 million. It's closed. The goals were set at 10 and 6. The CUP came back with 10 and 6, and they achieved 11 and 8. Participation was in the pipe installation again. Hauling and landscaping. The prime on that one was also Leith and Sons. And I've got like 3 more as well. If anyone wants the information on those.
Okay, thank you. Board questions?
Is anyone interested in seeing the map of where these locations are at all? Okay.
Mr. Chair, this is Bob Lohman.
Yes, Bob.
I would like to make a motion to approve Water Services Department's goals of 9 and 7. It seems that the breakdown that they have in terms of how the work would be subcontracted and what scope of work the general contractor would do makes more sense to me.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved by Bob Lohman and second by Bridget Wims to set the goals as set by the Water Services Department at 9 and 7. Call the roll, please.
Greenwell,
Aye.
Bowman,
Aye.
McCreevy,
Aye.
Perez,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
I have 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Ayes have it. The goal is set at 9 and 7. Next project, please.
Next project is another water main replacement project, number 9348 / 8.80002081, water main replacement along Wilson Road and railroad tracks at the old Armco steel site. Estimated cost of $822,500. HRD reviewed the project and recommended goals of 9% MBE and 7% WBE. There's someone from the department to discuss the project.
This is Jerry Stevens again. I'm the project manager for this project as well. This is a project that includes about 2,500 lineal feet of water main that we have obtained a partial grant for this from the Economic Development Association, and then we are supplementing that with the property owners participating at the same level as the grant is. So, and maybe a little bit more because they are going to be the direct benefits of this project. This is in a street that is not a public street. It's a private street, but we are going to obtain a public easement for the water main for the future of this. This is a highly industrial area, and with the grant from EDA, they have set their standard goals are 12 for MBE and 7 for WBE. So we will be operating in that area to make sure that those goals are obtained for the EDA grant. This will take about 150 days to complete this. It's only 2,500 feet. It will be many, I would say about 4 or 5 railroad crossings that will take some time to do that. And we're all in the process of obtaining those permits and getting everything designed and approved going forward. So are there any questions from anyone at this point?
If there are no questions, HRD, will you give us your analysis, please?
HRD found participation on the MB side in the staking, the hauling, the seating inside, and the concrete for 9%, and on the erosion control, traffic control, and asphalt on the WB side. There's also good availability of MBs and WBs and all the other scopes of work included in the project, except for that traffic control where there's only 1 MBE available. It's also consistent with the goals that have been set on recent water main replacement projects of 9% and 7%, and the prime contractors do not appear to have had any problem meeting or exceeding those goals.
Thank you. Board, do you have any questions for the Water Services or HRD? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I move for the department's recommendation of 9 and 7.
Lohman second.
Then this goal on the floor and has been set by Mrs. Wim and second by Mr. Bowman. To approve the goals, we call for a vote.
Greenwell,
Aye.
Lemon,
Aye.
McCreevy,
Aye.
Perez,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
I have 5 ayes and 0 nays.
Ayes have it. Goal has been set at 9 and 7. Next project, please.
Thank you, committee, for your time.
Thank you.
The next project is project number 1647/810000918 from the Water Services Department for the II inflow and infiltration reduction, Northern Basins, project number 2. Estimated cost of $3,711,645.41. Is there someone from Water Services to discuss the project?
Yep, my name is Ben McCabe, and I'm with the Water Services Department, Smart Sewer Division. This project is being driven by the EPA with our consent decree with the EPA, so it's a project we got to get done. The goal of the project is to eliminate stormwater from our sanitary sewer system, is what the goal of this project is. The project is located, it's a large area, but it's up north of the river, roughly by I-435 and 169 highway. So the type of work you might expect is manhole repairs, point repairs on the sewer lines, cured in place pipe lining, sanitary sewer type work associated with rehabbing a sewer system is what you'd expect. So, project costs about $3.7 million. We're hoping to bid it out this fall into winter with construction happening next year. HRD has made they have a goal request or a recommendation of 13 and 13. So with that, I'll take any questions you may have regarding the project.
Okay, if there are no questions, HRD, if you'll give us your assessment.
Sure. I just wanted to make a point of clarification. It looks like our goal recommendation is 13 and 11, which is consistent with what the department recommended of 14 and 10, a total of 24%. It was just that we segregated ours a little bit different. We segregated the point repairs part for MBE, the hauling, and the seeding and the landscaping. And then on the WBE side, we segregated the CCTV and sewer cleaning and the CCTV inspection and the asphalt restoration for the 11%. Good availability in all the scopes of work included in the project except for that CIPP work. A lot of flexibility for the prime contractor to achieve the goals. On previous II reduction projects, the thing is that sometimes the scopes of work do not line up on these. Found some that were similar in size, but mostly a lot bigger than this one. There's a $10 million one, WSD 1169 for Blue River South. The goals on that one were set at 11 and 6. The CEP came in with 11 and 6, and they achieved 12 and 6. Participation was in concrete supply, utilities, and concrete. The prime on that one was Havens Construction. And we had WSD 1358, Lion Creek, Rock Creek project areas 1 and 2, which was approximately $7 million. That one's been closed. The goals were set at 11 and 4. And they ended up achieving 17 and 4 on that one. Participation in hauling, concrete, traffic control, fuel supply, landscaping, demolition. Prime was Kissick Construction. And then we had WSD 1382, the Blue River South areas 4 and 5 for $7.4 million. That one's closed. The goals on that one were set at 9 and 6. And they achieved 9 and 7. Participation was in hauling, traffic control, concrete, fuel supply, demolition, and the prime on that one was also Kissick Construction. And that
Okay,
concludes.
is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Board, questions? Are there any questions for the board? I'd like to say to Ben, did you put this project together? Are these your numbers?
Regarding the goals or the construction numbers, I'm sorry.
The construction numbers, the dollar amounts, where you have your in CCT, TV, the total dollar amount 101,000. You said 100,000. Next line below the same way. But like for you, just kind of in those small amounts, unless there's significant reasoning, and when you do give a reason for it in your presentation, it's not round your numbers up the same.
Okay, I would say the numbers are based on our experience with past projects of this type. So we pull these numbers from similar projects, leaning on our professional consultant and their construction estimates a little bit as well. When
Follow me. Do you have your construction cost breakdown in front of you?
I have what was submitted, yes.
Okay. What do you have on your preliminary cleaning and CCTV? What do you dollar amount?
I have 101,877. So yeah, they don't match. I see you now.
Yeah,
they're off.
That's all.
Two.
Yeah, make those match, and you might have a reasoning under your open cut. That's reasonable if the general contractor is going to do that and sub out that amount. But if you're going to sub out, just kind of make those numbers come out to the same. Okay, questions? Any other questions from the board? That's just a point of clarification to help you for the future.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If there are no other questions, I'll in the motion. Go ahead, Bridget.
So I do have a question. So let's say on the open cut point repair main line and lateral, it's 789,823. Is it reasonable to assume that would be that $250,000 of that would be subbed?
That is correct.
I'm asking, would a general sub out a portion of that? I mean, if they were going to sub out a portion, would it be? I guess this is a clarification question just for me. Is that something that a portion would be subbed out, or would all of it be subbed out, or none of it subbed out?
This is Brian Hess with the Water Services Department. In general, some of these projects get spread out over a wide area, so there may be multiple different types of crews, or there may be specific work that is subbed out, such as the lateral line or the lateral construction portion of this project. So,
so this is multiple projects.
Yeah, there's multiple project areas. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Terry.
You're welcome. Okay. Further clarification for me then. Is this one project with multiple locations? Is that what you're saying?
That is correct.
Because it's spread out. Okay. That's very understandable. Anybody else? Any other questions? If no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, this is Bob Lohman. I would move to accept HRD's recommendation of 1311.
I'd second that.
It's been moved and seconded to accept HRD's recommendation of 1311 by Mr. Lohman and second by Mr. Greenwell. Clerk, call the roll.
Greenwell,
Aye.
Lohman,
Aye.
McCready,
Aye.
Perez,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
I have 5 ayes, 0 nays.
5 have it. Got the goal is set at 1311. Next project, please.
Next project is project number 1535/810000838 from the Water Services Department for baseline improvements, Town Fork Creek. Estimated cost of $2,048,669. Is there someone from Water Services to discuss the project?
This is Ben one more time. So again, this is a smart sewer project that's being driven through our consent decree with EPA. This one's in a different area. It's in our combined sewer area. So the same pipes carry both storm and sanitary flow. So the project goals with these are to separate those flows in both cases. So one case is in a park. We're going to install some green infrastructure. The other case is in a 51st Street up by Satchel Paige Stadium, and we're installing a new storm sewer system with that one. So total combined cost is about $2 million, as was said. Similar to the schedule on the last one, we're hoping to bid this out this fall into winter and do the work next year. And goals have been recommended of 12 and 12 on this project. So with that, take any questions you may have.
Thank you. HRD, give us your assessment, please.
Sure. HRD looked at the project, and it does combine like two different types of project. It's got the green infrastructure and the storm sewer, it looks like, and found good availability of MBEs and WBEs and almost all the scopes of work included in the project. On the MBE side, we found participation in curbs and sidewalks, staking, and the concrete trail. And on the WB side, in the pavement restoration, scrubbing, seeding, sodding, the lighting, the fencing, the signage, traffic control, erosion control, the control mat, be part of the erosion control landscaping, and irrigation, the temporary irrigation. Previous projects, we don't really have one that combined like the two of them together. I have a green infrastructure one, WSD 1548, green infrastructure at the VA Med Center for 2.2 million. And when it was open, the goals were set at 10 and 7, and the CUP came back with 10 and 7, and they're currently achieving 21 and 9, and it's approximately 95% completed. They found participation in erosion control, landscaping, seeding, sodding, and the prime is blooming contracting. Another green infrastructure one, WSD 1422, for the neighborhood and green infrastructure for 3,204,000. It's open. The goals on that one were set at 15 and 7. And they're currently achieving 29 and 9, and it's about 95% completed. Participation was in hauling, concrete, traffic control, fuel supply, and concrete cutting. The prime is Kissick Construction, and I think I had a couple of storm sewer, Loma Vista storm sewers. Number 343. That one, the goals were set at 13 and 7, and that one's only about 2/3 completed, and they're currently achieving 9 and 2 on that one. I have another. And then another stormwater, the East Fork Line Creek stormwater improvement. That one was for about 740,000. Goals were set at. I can't find the goals. They didn't list the goals on that one, but they're currently achieving 4 and 30 on that one with infrastructure solutions. And they had participation in trucking, erosion control, fuel supply. And that looked like it for their participation.
Okay, all right, thank you.
There weren't a whole lot that were just stormwater, unfortunately, that were close to the contract amount.
Okay, okay, makes sense. Questions from the board? If there are no questions, I'll entertain a motion. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, this is Perez. I would make the motion that we approve HRD's requirement goals at 12 and 12.
Mr. Perez has a motion on the floor to accept HRD's goals at 12 and 12. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second to accept HRD's goals at 12 and 12 of Mr. Greenwell, Mr. Perez, Mr. Greenwell. Clerk, call the roll.
Greenwell,
Aye.
Wilman,
Aye.
Freebie,
Aye.
Perez,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
I have 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Ayes have it. Next project goes to the 12 and 12.
Next project from Water Services is 1648/608-10104. It's for the sewer line repairs at various locations for fiscal year 2022. Estimated cost of $3 million. Is there someone from Water Services to discuss the project?
With market manager at KC Water. So this is our annual contract that aims to repair sewer mains that ranges from 8 to 15 inch in diameter. Also,
Can you give us something to clarify? You're not coming through very well.
I'm sorry.
I see you're not coming through very well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry about that. How about now?
That's a little better, yes.
Okay, great. Great. So just on that again, this is our annual citywide sewer line repairs contract that aims to repair sewer mains 8 through 15 inch in diameter. And we also do service laterals repairs all the way to the right of way. So all of these are open at this point. And in addition, we also do manholes rehabilitation. So we don't have a map for this kind of project because most of this project is created through a work order that comes in from preventive maintenance investigation finding, and also in addition coming in from 311 action centers. So it's hard until we actually know what it is. And KC Waters requested goals of 8 floors with HRDs coming in at 8 and 7. And with that, I am open to any questions that you have.
Okay, HRD, give us your assessment.
Sure. On this project, we found there's only really 3 scopes that they've listed. The manholes, the sewer repairs, and the restoration scopes. But the restoration, that can include anything: traffic control, hauling, asphalt repair, concrete repair, landscaping. And we found good availability of MBEs and all of those, as well as WBEs. We segregated 240,000 of the manhole work for MBEs for the 8%, and 60,000 of the manholes and 150,000 of the restoration on the WBE side. But there's good availability in other scopes of work. The previous contract for this service was WSD 1411. The first year they spent $2,719,000 on it. It's been closed. Goals were set at 10 and 5. CUP came in with 10 and 5, and they achieved 13 and 7. Participation was in concrete supply, hauling, traffic control, fuel supply, asphalt, concrete, fencing. Prime was Genesis Plumbing. The the first renewal of that contract. I spent $2,999,000 on that one. It's been closed. Again, goals were 10 and 5. CEP came in with 10 and 5, and they achieved 10 and 6. Participation in concrete supply, hauling, traffic control, fuel supply, asphalt, concrete, fencing. Same prime contractor, Genesis Plumbing. Second renewal, it's only about a third done. They're at $1,107,000. Goals again were 10 and 5. CEP with 10 and 5. They're currently achieving 6 and 7. Participation again in hauling, traffic control, asphalt, concrete, and fuel supply. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Board, you have questions? No questions from the board. I'll entertain a motion from the board.
Mr. Chair, this is Bob Lohman. I would make a motion that we accept HRD's recommendation of 8 and 7.
There's a motion on the floor by Mr. Lohman to accept HRD's recommendation of 10 and 7.
No, 8 and 7.
8 and 7. I apologize. 8 and 7. Is there a second?
I'll second, Mr. Chair.
And it's been seconded by Mr. Perez. Call the roll, please.
Greenwell,
Aye.
Lohman,
Aye.
McCready,
Aye.
Perez,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
I have 5 ayes, 0 nays.
Ayes have it. Project goal is set at 8 and 7. Next project, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, members.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, again, Dion from HRD. Here to present the next project, which is called the Tracks. It is a statutory agency project with TIF and PIA incentives. The project is estimated at $39,090,465. And I have the developer online to present the project.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
This is John McGurk with Millhouse Development. As Dion indicated, this is for the Tracks project at 22nd and Wyandotte. If you're familiar with the area, it's just west of Jack Stack and the Freight House, right there on the Terminal Railroad. It's a 193 unit apartment complex on top of a 2.5-story post-tension cast in place concrete garage. Per the TIF agreement, TIF is assisting with the garage. Prevailing wage will be paid on the concrete scope for the garage. And then PIA is involved with the balance of the project. In terms of the recommended percentages for participation, I think our biggest concern with what was recommended by HRD is what's really being used for the denominator. I know on earlier projects you guys discussed today that were also multifamily contingency, GCs, and contractor fees were not included in that denominator, but they're included in this calculation here. So that's a total of about $6.2 million. The other concern we have is, there's a number of scopes that HRD has said that there's not the ability to get participation in. That totals about $3.5 million. The concrete foundations, which is $6.6 million, was listed as availability, and I question that if there is availability, it's very limited. This is a post-tension, multi-story parking structure. It's not just concrete foundations for a slab on grade type material. So we're a little concerned, being that's the largest scope hands down at $6.6 million, that when you take all that out, all the not applicable items in the budget, and the items with limited or no availability, about 50% of the other scopes would need to be either M or W to hit these goals. So that's our biggest concern, and it's obviously a large concern for us. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions or let Dion speak on behalf of HRD.
Put your concern about post-tension contractors to side. There are ironworking companies here that does a lot of post-tension. This is a seismic zoned area. The majority of our parking garages does have post-tension in them. All of the areas where you have sand foundation and stable have post-tension, so you could put that to rest. You have plenty of post-tension contractors in Kansas City. Just point of clarification for the contractor.
Okay, I appreciate that. We've talked to some that have expressed interest in working with us on the project, and they have indicated that they do not have that ability. So we can work with Dion and Ms. Dorch on identifying any contractors that have that experience.
Mr. Chairman, can I get a point of clarification?
Sure.
Is this project 100% prevailing wage, or are we just specifically talking about the parking garage as being prevailing wage?
So per our TIF contract, the concrete scope is the only prevailing wage component of the project.
You do realize the city has passed an ordinance that requires prevailing wage.
Yes, Ms. Williams, I think that was you. This project was approved through the statutory agencies last year before all the applicable affordability ordinance and prevailing wage ordinance. So this is under a different set of rules in terms of that.
So you're saying this is grandfathered in under?
Yes, sir.
So, clarification from city council, city legal?
That's correct. I think, I forget what the date was. I didn't work on the ordinance, but I know it has a date certain that projects prior to that would not have the affordable housing and prevailing wage provisions.
That help, Gabe?
Yeah, he's probably correct, because we had a mad rush of getting projects through, or at least preliminary approved, to try to eliminate prevailing wage.
Okay.
And just clarification, this was approved through the agencies before that ordinance was passed. This was approved back in right after the New Year and early in fall period. So these were approved prior to even those ordinances being passed.
I think the ordinance effective date, it looks like, is May 14th, 2021.
But for clarification, it was being discussed well before that. So, anyway.
Okay. HRD, give us your recommendations and assessment based upon the relevant information.
Yes, based upon the information that was provided, there were over 50 scopes in which availability was there for participation. The scopes that I outlined were not in direct line with the developer provided for availability. I had availability through MBE with wood framing materials, carpentry, and then for WBE, I have availability for electrical, low voltage, plumbing slash materials, HVAC, which then rounded that out at the total budget that was provided at around 14%. Excluding those numbers, those percentages would jump up significantly. So there's definitely enough availability to obtain 14 and 14%, including or excluding those particular line items. And with that being said, there are a few line items that the developer did include that were not at full dollar value. So taking that into consideration as well. So with that being said, HRD has a recommendation at 14% MBE and 14% WBE.
I just have one question. The board may have others, but under your wood framing materials, is that supply?
I believe that is the whole, I believe that is materials and labor.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, a question for Dion or HRD to John's point or question about the soft cost. It seems that we have some analysis that includes soft cost, and other times we look at projects without. Can we talk some about the difference in the approach?
So for my analysis, based upon the ordinance, it's 100% of the contract, and so or the budget. And so based upon the information that was provided, that's how I did my analysis. Based upon that, I know we had some discussions prior in prior meetings about this, and sometimes it's taken out, sometimes it and others it's considered. So I know one of those conversations were about with the departments, in which they included all those line items in their individual scopes. So which is why we kept going and kept the same process for the statutory agency project. So that was my take on it, and that's how I did my analysis. Dustin, could you chime in on that?
One more time, what was the question?
Where we include, Dustin, this is Don, where we include soft cost in some of the analysis, and it's as included in the denominator of determining the goal percentages, and then in other projects we do not. I'm just asking about a consistent methodology and why there's a difference here today.
So the code says total project costs, but it does, one of the things you consider is scopes of work. So I think it's fair to take those things into account. I don't think you absolutely have to take those things into account. I mean, you're always going to have overhead in any contract you have. I think it's been the rationale previously of why you would include it in the denominator, but I think the board has discretion to include whatever scopes of work, whatever different components of the total project cost you feel is appropriate. It's probably a cop-out answer, but I feel like that's the right one.
This is Andrea Dorch with the from a practical standpoint, I agree with everything that Dustin just said. One of the differences is that the city, when it's a city contract, is technically the developer, and here's a private developer. So what we have been trained to do is to spread those costs out over all 50 scopes. And so, yes, they break it out as a single number, but we spread it out across the board. If we were to take it out, the goals would be 17 and 17. We would stick with the same dollar value. So it's up to you how you want to look at that, but that's just our training.
Thank you. I just point that out because there was another private development that did not include that. So it just seems there's an inconsistency on methodology.
It's the same methodology. You're just going to it's going to be the same value of the MBE and the WBE. It's just that whether or not you spread it across the scopes themselves by adding that overhead into them, or you break it out by line item, which you all did here, which would give you the same value. Like I said, if you take it out, it's going to be 17% and 17%. Because the dollar value will be the same, the 5 million, what Dion had calculated. I don't have two screens, so I have to go back to it. Hold on one second. Yeah, it's going to be 5.548 on the MBE side. That's what he calculated, and 5.605 on the WBE side.
I guess my point is, obviously, it's the board's discretion, however you guys want to handle this. It just, we filled out the budget request sent to us by HRD that included those line items, so we filled out what we needed. The other project earlier, I think it was second or third on your agenda, did not have those in their budget, so I'm not sure if those were just deleted. But it seems another project very similar to ours with very similar goals, recommendations did not include those overheads. So it's a large number. It's 6.2 million, and that's a lot to make up in other scopes. So that's our concern.
I don't see any goals being set on that $6.2 million that you're speaking of, directly speaking to. But
it's part of the denominator. Sorry, it's part of the denominator, so the percentages are part of that.
If you take the denominator out, then the goals would go up.
Again, 34% goals seem extremely hard to meet, and we would very much struggle to meet that, to be perfectly candid.
I don't think you would struggle to meet it if you really try. Get with HRD, see what you can do.
But we will do everything we need to do. I'm just highlighting the issue, and it's one of our concerns.
Are you a local contractor?
What's that, sir?
Are you local?
Millhouse, we're our own contractor, and all of our construction folks are local in Kansas City, correct? Yes. We're companies based in Indianapolis.
Okay,
but
then
I'm local to Kansas City, and our construction team's local to Kansas City.
Okay, then I don't think you have a problem in meeting the goal. Are there any other questions? If there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I had a quick question for what is the anticipated schedule for this project?
In just some clarification, when you mean schedule, like
construction duration. Duration.
Oh, duration. 26 to 28 months total.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Dion, I also noted on your sheet, you show no availability for under JIP board assemblies. Even our developer says there's availability there. Was there a specific reason? I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
I believe
that's $1.6 million.
Yeah, I believe the carpentry portion of that, as it pertained to the assembly portion, is what I didn't take accountability for. So again, that was my my overlook. So there would be availability in that.
We have availability in almost every scope of work on this project. There are a few exceptions in the general contractor's way of looking at that, so I understand that. But just for clarity, we have plenty of folks available for this type of work.
Thank you, Gabe. Okay, I'll entertain a motion from the board.
Mr. Chair, I just have one quick question.
Sure.
What does past behavior, what role does past behavior play in future contracts?
Is that to the developer?
I think this might be to the attorney, to
Okay.
Dustin.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what do you mean by that, Bridget? As far as,
go ahead.
are you talking about the developer when they're talking about incentives or seeking incentives, or are you talking about the developer with their subcontractors?
So let's say there were, workforce abuses or, some sort of some other issue of not meeting the goal. Is that documented somewhere?
That'd be something that probably the statutory agency boards may look at, or statutory agency staff look at. I have no idea if that's something that they consider.
Okay. Okay. Because as I understand, is decal a part of this project? No?
Decal is not a part
John,
of this.
I'm
Decal
asking.
Decal has been decertified. HRD had certified them, recertified them. We have used them in the past. Other contractors and projects have used them in the past. I don't view this as any bearing on this right now. And to be completely
So
candid, we are working to resolve any issues
question,
that may have come up because of a contractor's abuse of the process.
My question to you, Mr. McGurk, is decal a part of this project or not?
Absolutely not. We are never using decal again.
Okay. So it was a simple yes or no question. Opinions really don't matter. So thank you. That's all I had, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Bridget. Okay. Anyone else have anything from the Furnace Board concern? If there are no other concerns, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd move for adoption of the HRD recommendation of 14 and 14.
Thank you, Mr. Greenwell. Is there a second?
Lohman, second.
It's been moved and second by Mr. Greenwell, second by Mr. Lohman. Those be set at 14 and 14. Clerk, call the roll.
Greenwell,
Aye.
Lohman,
Aye.
McCready,
Aye.
Perez,
Nay.
Williams,
Aye.
I have 4 ayes, 1 no.
Ayes have it. Project goes sit at 14 and 14.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you. This concludes the projects for today. We don't have anything that was added in or at least presented to me. So we're going to go directly into other business. Is this in your hands, HRD? So we have, since no one's speaking from HRD, we have a couple of new and recertifications. Anybody from HRD want to go over those? But if you need explanation.
So I provided the July CUP report and the new recertified for July. For MBEs, we did not have any new recertified, or I'm sorry, any new firms for MBEs for July. And you also find 2 other reports, and those are just so you guys can see the numbers before the quarter, how many firms and goals, cups, RFMs, closeouts we've received.
Okay. Are there any questions on the reports? If there are no questions on the report, our next meeting is scheduled for September the 9th. Are there any comments from the public or any? Go right ahead, Dave. Sound like it.
Mr. Chair, can I, this is probably a question for HRD or specifically Andrea. Can we get any conversation on the CUP report that was sent to us as far as any action being taken, or can you enlighten us at all?
Yes, we are currently cleaning up the database to ensure that our CUPs are received timely and reviewed. We are also working on a new process through eBuilder for firms to be able to submit directly to the department so that we can get them quicker and more streamlined instead of using a different system we have been using previously. The current report shows that there are several that are outstanding, but some of those are actually closed projects and should have been administratively outed of our system. So in the next meeting, I'll make sure to do a full update report on that.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I also have a question. So he just commented that decal had been decertified and recertified. Is that true?
I'm not sure what he was referring to. It had been, decal was decertified when I came on board, and they have not been recertified since, no.
Okay.
I can confirm that they're no longer certified, and I believe they are out of business. I've not heard anything about them since the last issue we had with them.
Hey, Mark. I believe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that I'm going to check real quick, but they are back. I know that factually.
Oh no!
And they are still certified as far as your website as a DBE.
Oh, that's because we have to remove them. We have to request the removal of them from the DBE website from ODOT.
Right, and I knew there was some hoops you had to jump through that.
Yep.
I would keep my eye out. I get complaints daily. I have got 2 more files I could hand you today if I was there. So,
oh, no.
With different names attached, but we'll go through that.
Oh.
But
yeah, let me know.
I just don't like. If they're still on the line, that's fine. I don't appreciate a general contractor throwing it back to HRD as being responsible for a certified company that they've used religiously in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the defensiveness of it sounds all kinds of alarm bells. So you guys need to really watch that.
Answer to your earlier question is, I have tried to get information from Ackerman agencies as far as, is there any recourse for violators, and so far it's been crickets. So,
well, maybe that's something the city needs to set a policy on. I mean, my question was in general, not even only for alphabet agencies. It's how does all of this connect? Like, if there's a violation in workforce, how does it impact that contractor being able to move forward on, where is it documented? And I think we need to really, if you can just pay a penalty and move on, what's the point?
Yeah, I agree. It's something we fight daily, and especially in this labor market.
If there aren't proper ramifications put in place, there's no reason for them to stop doing what they